are we doing, XRP community? This is Ohmdawg coming at you today with some XRP price action analysis straight to the charts. So first, before we jump into everything, I just want to say this is my first installment on this channel for XRP price action and distributed ledger technology price action alike. So we will be talking about tokens like XRP, XLM Stellar, XDC, Flare, and other tokens alike within this realm or basket case of tokens. So first, I just wanted to really quickly introduce myself. If you haven't seen me on Twitter/X before, this video will be platformed there as well, but I will be uploading to YouTube. But today's video, we will be going over previous price action prior to the XRP lawsuit ending on July 13th, my expectations, and all of the data and analysis that led up to the price that we are currently seeing today. So without further ado, everybody, I'm going to throw out the disclaimer and we will see you all on the other side. This is not financial advice. This video is for educational purposes only. Trading with money involves risk. I'm not responsible for any decisions you make based off this information. Alright, so here we go. First, I'm going to jump into X. I'm going to pull up some tweets that I've made in the past. I think I have a good few slides to go over real quick before we jump into current price action. So let's get right into it. I am very excited to be here and I hope you are too. Let's go. So first, this is my tweet from June 12th. And essentially what we were looking at is, at that time, I thought that we were getting a distribution model essentially playing out in price action. So let's go over what I was talking about. XRP 15-minute chart is looking rather familiar with huge potential fundamental news on the horizon. This distribution model lines up quite nicely just for reference. If price doesn't come out on the other side of the public release with a positive effect pre-settlement, then another 35 to 40 cent swing could look very probable. In other words, if price isn't dramatically affected with positive impact, then we are in for another dip. And essentially, here is a little bit of what we were looking at that time. And I was essentially saying the constant rejection of price around the 50 to 55 cent area shows that eventually price wants to break out of the consolidation period. It's just a matter of when. If price does not break out upon public release of what we expect to be an overall positive impact, then we could be seeing lows targeted again while higher time frame price action accumulation continues to play out, really setting the stage for the month of July. The market structure remains bearish until confirmative price action breaks it. And that's something I really like to hammer on, is having that confirmative price action play out over time. Moving over, here we are on July 13th, essentially V-Day or D-Day, however you want to say. I remember waking up that morning actually, and price was still sitting right below 48 cents. And I remember I got to my shop and I saw price was pumping, and I just tweeted this real quick. I said, the little spike to 55 cents, will this momentum continue or fall short? What just happened? Anything notably fundamental? And at that time, I didn't know I didn't know Judge Torres came out with a ruling at that time, and price was just pumping, and I didn't see anything on Twitter yet, which eventually leads us up to July 31st. So this is post pump. We've had all of this price action play out. We saw all of this range essentially play out. And what I want to point out here is we had a solid point of liquidity that was created within the market. And as you can see, I tweeted liquidity, check off the list. The imbalance was checked off the list. Now mitigation. And as we can see, that liquidity is a significant area as we'll move forward throughout these tweets that I start pointing out. So on July 31st, I was just saying, y'all keep an eye on this setup for me tonight, looking for the 1 hour to 4 hour primarily. Mitigation zone, what are your thoughts? And what we were essentially looking for was price within this area, how it was going to react. Will it break up and through, or was it going to reject it, ultimately leading to lower lows within the market? Moving over to, what day was this? I think this was August 1st. And this was that same area that we just pointed out, except on a smaller time frame. I believe this was a 30-minute or 15-minute. I can't remember precisely. Okay, yeah, here we go. So 5 to 15-minute time frame rejections on the setup last night. This leads me to believe that the market is building liquidity to the upside of the smaller time frame, visible with 3 rejections. If we are ultimately to trade higher on higher time frames, then the price will ignore the red 70 to 71 cent box and trade straight through it. But if price becomes evident that it wants to trade lower, then this 70 to 71 cent box will show evidence of the distribution. Watch how the 5 to 15 minute price action treats the area, which we do see here roughly. I actually ended up marking it with a Fibonacci retracement. I do want to point out real quick that our fibs are units of measurement. They are not areas to enter off. It's simply showing this that price is a certain percentage off from the high or low, whether you are drawing your fibs up or down. In the last post, we were looking into the smaller time frame price action within this 70 to 71 cent area of interest. With the most recent price rejections, things are looking clear. The 1 hour is rejecting the 618 of the mitigation candle with obvious bearish engulfing that closed. Smaller time frame price action is showing the same respects of a 50% measurement as well. As I was stating earlier, keep an eye on that 5 to 15 minute and see how price reacts within the specific area. What can you identify within the photos provided below that stands out to you the most? And that's just me trying to talk to people and get everybody's opinion and get a general consensus about what was going on at that time. And here we are over on August the 2nd. We had the rejection, and I was saying XRP with confirmative rejection from our area of interest. Could price return and fill the rest of the imbalance? Very possibly. In the previous tweet, we were identifying how well the fib measurements were lining up and how price is respecting everything we have marked. If the current rejection is to maintain, then we are likely to see a break of structure to the downside of the market. Stay tuned. And boom, here we go. This was August the 3rd. Liquidity swept. Great job to everyone that was following along. I appreciate everybody that is following along on Twitter right now. I do not post stuff like this to blow smoke, and that is something I want to point on. I don't just do stuff like this for no reason, right? We were currently looking for stronger, higher time frame price action closers, or at that 0.66589 level that we've had marked for a few weeks for confirmative break of structure. All it needed was some time to cook. Mid-range timeframes could possibly conclude in a proper fill of the imbalance if price is to maintain bearish. As we can see down here, we broke that structure, which we will see on the chart here in a minute as once we get to the live chart. But moving over, which day was this? This was August the 4th. I said with XRP, higher time frame price action closing below the previously marked liquidity, the probability of heading towards 60 cents becomes rather high. Looking for the exact same setup here. With quarter level theory in mind, we want to see how price trades down into the 60 cents and will it react up and out of the area of interest or disrespect it and trade lower. This next reaction will tell us all we need to know about higher time frame price direction. Here we are on August 7th in that area that I will point out later. A constant rejection of this area could lead to a new relatively small time frame highs if accumulated properly. Any sign of disrespect to the 60 cent fractal level could lead to an accomplishment of lower lows. As we could see, price did respect this area very well as we marked it prior to this actually happening, which led us to conclude. Here we are on August 8th. I was actually replying to somebody here, Old Man Jonesy, shout out Old Man Jonesy. My primary concern about the XRP price action at this time is that if it was going to truly react up and out of the area, I felt that it probably would have done so already. If you notice, this 15-minute to 1 hour chart is primarily showing bearish price action, completing lower lows and lower highs as it progresses. I marked that bullish scenario as a break of structure because it would be the physical shift of the bearish sentiment into bullish time frame price action towards that 0.66589 area of significance from earlier and from the previous post. Really need to see price scoot from here soon, otherwise I believe it could fall short if no higher highs are achieved. We did get a decent reaction out of it, but the basic fundamentals of true bullish price action would have been rather evident. I hope that makes sense to everybody. And I just realized I typed you a book, and I'm just reading the tweets right here as we scroll through. But here we are on August 9th. We had a nice rejection out of that 60 cent fractal level, moving up straight back to that area of significance or prior earlier in the tweets that I was showing was that 0.66589 area that was very significant. Price actually respected it to the teeth, and ultimately we did see price fall shorter later on. And here we go. This was August 9th. Price looking like it wants to reject, but I do not want to say that definitely yet. It could still fake up out and away. Let's see how the 4 hour closes. I believe that will give us the proper data we need in order to formulate a true direction from this current range. And moving over, here we are on August 16th. And I was saying only a select few people were talking about XRP price not breaking the 66 cent last week. As always, I remain unbiased in terms of short-term price direction, and I will always keep it 100% with y'all. And I was just letting people know to follow, turn on notifications. And by the way, if you are not following me on Twitter, or I mean X, please feel free to do so, and you'll get more content like this as we start to progress into XRP price action, XLM price action, XDC price action, whichever we will get into, whichever is relevant at that time. And here we go, ultimately, XRP on August 17th, the recent price drop, is it part of the plan? Shake her down, I was saying. Can't say the dog didn't warn the entire XRP community for a solid week. All of those tweets were essentially me warning that if price did not show that bullish evidence, then it's not going to go up. And if it did, then it would have been a liquidity sweep on the high, people trying to buy, the FOMO buy, which then ultimately would have led into the price dipping again. And here we are on August 27th. And I guess what I wanted to point out here is I was just kind of putting out a random thread saying, what are the odds of another Black Swan event FTX style? Do you remember what Bitcoin did? And I'm actually just going to pull this up as an example real quick because we'll use this later on when I go over XRP price action. So as we can see, this was the Bitcoin chart on FTX. As we can see, we had that range, we had all of that liquidity prior to the news breaking of SBF and that whole conundrum that went on during that time. And we had across the entire crypto market actually clean liquidity ready to be swept, and look what happened. Price swept, we ranged for a little bit, but ultimately we marked higher. And why is that? Well, it's because it was manipulative, right? We saw that big fundamental event that drove price down, captured liquidity, leveraged traders got stopped out over here, but price still ultimately traded higher, even though that was such a big fundamental event that was overall negatively impacting the space. And I think we're essentially leading towards that over onto the XRP chart is kind of what I'm getting at. So yeah, that was August 27th when I posted that, which leads us to now. Today is actually September the 11th, 2023, and I am going to jump over to the XRP chart. So we are now over on the live chart, and as you can see, this is my daily chart. This is all of my markups that I've been doing and everything that I have done in the past and stuff that I'm currently looking at. So briefly, what I want to note on right here is something that I touched on earlier in one of those slides, but the confirmation of bullish price action, right? So when we had this initial run to 94, almost 95 cents, when the case ended on July 13th, something really stuck out to me, and that's across the board. When you look at all of these different XRP charts from different exchanges, we had this really hard rejection from that dollar area. But if you actually check over here, really it was just running liquidity. Boom. Any leveraged traders got stopped out right there. Anybody that was buying that top on spot, they ultimately lost, thinking that price was going to go higher from there. So it was really important at that time to be patient and see how price was going to play out. But as we can see, over time we have had that rejection, and we are now currently trading at 48 cents. And this is on the daily chart. But I do want to touch real quick. Notice how we are still in quite a bearish scenario, right? Price didn't trade or close higher. What it did was rejected, which gave us really all the data we needed to know moving forward that, hey, price isn't going to trade higher. There is no way it's going to trade higher. Why? Because if it was going to trade higher, it would have maintained the rules of a bullish market. Essentially, what the rules of a bullish market are is you create a high. Or actually, I could draw this out for y'all real quick, but essentially a bullish market, you have your impulse in price, you have the retracement, right? But what's important here is the lows and the highs that's going on. So this is the importance of bullish price action structure. We have a higher high, we have our highs, our lows, our higher highs, our higher lows, our higher highs and our higher lows. And that essentially goes on in a bull market until market actually breaks structure, and you see there's a shift in momentum. See, it stops that the rules of a bullish market, and we break down into a bearish market, which is essentially the opposite of what we just saw. We see a low, a lower high, another low, another lower high, and so on until we get into, a range or whatever the case may be. So essentially what I'm getting at here is, as we can see, technically XRP is still in that bearish structure in terms of the rules of a bearish or bullish market, right? See, as we see our 2018 all-time high. What happened in 2021 lawsuit? We had the what happened in 2020 in December? We had the lawsuit, which ultimately led to the 2021 lower highs, which was actually diverging from the entire crypto market at the time. The rest of the crypto market was making higher highs, completing higher highs, creating bullish price action as to where XRP was suppressed and held back due to uncertainty. And that's something I'm actually saving for later. But as we could see, we did not maintain any sort of bullish structure here, which ultimately led to the lower time frame fall in price that we are looking at right now. And currently, as we can see where we're at, right, we are sitting at that 48-cent level. Now, reason that this is significant is essentially we are going to see if price is going to ultimately trade into this area, which it has done. We have traded and actually broken, but now we are going to see in the knit and grit if price actually wants to break out, which as of now looks like it is pushing up. But we essentially from this area want to see, is price going to ultimately trade lower and maintain the rules of this essentially lower time frame bearish price action, or are we going to trade up and higher, back up into higher time frame price significance? That is still to be determined, but what we know at least is we have the data in order to react to the market based on what it does, right? So if we see any sort of slippage from here, we start to see price start to really slip, we could actually very well see that 37-cent level. But more importantly, actually, I want to point out this price action that we have, which is essentially leftover price action from the SEC lawsuit in 2020. As we can see, we had the liquidity sweep before the markup, and then price ran higher. Even though it didn't make an all-time high, it still swept and went higher, which in my opinion makes this area significant, which is around that 23 to 29 or 28 cent area. 30 cents we can just call it. And I'm thinking that if price does start to break down, we do have a lot of open liquidity to the downside, especially most recently. We had this candle right here creating more liquidity to the downside, giving the market more reason to actually trade lower into these prices. And like I said, I am unbiased. So this is basically two sides of the market when we're looking at it. We want to really see, are we going to ultimately reject from this area? Are we going to trade lower, start sweeping liquidity to the downside before? Because as everybody watching this, I'm sure, is an XRP holder, we want price to go up, right? But it doesn't matter what we want. There's still a lot of open liquidity, as we can see, left in the market, which leads me to believe if price does start to slip a lot and break down, close lower, create that same bearish structure that we have seen, it could ultimately trade down and into these areas, sweep all of this liquidity, just like I was showing y'all in that slide with FTX, wherever it is. I think it was this one. Same scenario on Bitcoin, right? We traded lower in order to trade higher. We did it over at that. Even with that uncertainty of the lawsuit, we traded lower before we went higher. So in order for us to ultimately go higher, I personally believe that price does need to, clear some of this liquidity to the downside in order to open up a little bit and ultimately create those new higher highs, leading to $2, $3, $4, which would be a new all-time high for XRP. That's pretty much it, actually. It's really plain and simple. I'd really do like to keep it plain and simple and keep price open to both sides. Keep your mindset open to each side of the market and react accordingly, right? So when price, if price does break down, like I was saying, we will ultimately see that increase in price later on as we start to fill some of this order, because when price gets to these scarce levels, there is going to be a lot of buying going on, which would ultimately result in the price increasing. But we could, still range in this area as well. There's a lot of scenarios that could actually play out, but just on a two-sided front, we do want to see if price is going to break up from here, or are we going to break down, sweep some of this liquidity, get some cheaper prices to fill our bags with, and to the moon we go, essentially. Because we We know where this is going. Like I was saying, this isn't financial advice. But we do know the assets that we are holding. We know its capabilities. We know how well they are able to perform in this market environment, and they are leading the space currently, in my opinion. So that's basically all I have for y'all today. Essentially, I just want everybody to keep an eye on how price is reacting to this area. Are we going to trade up and out? And if we do get some major boom in the market, does price break the structure that we have to the left side on this daily chart and create that bullish scenario where price is creating a physically bullish price? And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for y'all today. And I'm not sure how many videos I'm going to be posting, if it's going to be daily or not, because it really isn't necessarily necessary for me to post daily content yet. But if there is future demand, I will post as I see fit. So I appreciate you all stopping by, and this is Ohmdawg coming at you with a first installment of the XRP price action, and hopefully we can jump into XLM, XDC, and these other assets later into the future. Wish you all well. Ohmdawg out. Peace.